Hi, everyone. Hi, Leslie. It's so nice to see you today.
Great to see you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Can you believe we're in 2023?
And we're at that point where there are people who think we should stop saying Happy New Year, although I say it
Mm,
through all of January.
yeah, it's funny that people do have different thoughts on that. I personally, yeah, I'm like a kind of a whole January person of Happy New Year. Um, but if you're joining us right now, you're joining Leslie and Ann for Career Matters. Please tell us, first of all, just now that we've asked this question, now I want to know, do you do you say Happy New Year? Do you have a cutoff date for Happy New Year? Let us know because
And I
that is a good
should
one.
say, last year I did one of those polls on LinkedIn, and I was pushing towards mid-February if you haven't seen or spoken to that person. If that's the first time you're speaking with them, it's still okay to say Happy New Year. Oh,
Hmm.
did I push back? There were people who were like, "Are you kidding? Once it hits January 10th, we're done with it." And it was just so interesting that where whatever the date was for people, they were very stuck on that date. Like, no,
Really?
I don't accept that you could say it till the end of January.
Oh, wow. That's so funny. Okay, well, this is good to know. We're not seeing any comments right now, so I'm not sure if we're having some technical difficulties, but we'll keep going.
Is
If you do, please feel free to comment. Let us know what you're drinking, where you're tuning in from. We always love to know. Um, but we'll just keep going then. So, this
yes.
is that time of year, Leslie, when people are thinking about their New Year's resolutions, what they want to accomplish for the year. And there's lots of different terms out there, right? That kind of roll up into this. We hear goals and intentions and resolutions and objectives. Um, and so, although some people have a word of the year, do you have a word of the year, Leslie?
I yes. I've
Mhm.
thought
Okay.
about it. It's changed. If you ask me on a different day, I might have a different point of view. And when you just asked me that, the first word that comes to mind is communication.
Okay. Okay. My word of the year this year is ease. So it's all
Mm,
about just kind of easing in. And I got to remember because I get moments where I get like really stressed and I can, stress can be a good thing too, right? And it can be a motivator, but I need to just
yes,
kind of ease into things this year. So that's my
I love
word.
that.
And I see
I
a couple
love that.
people, yeah, a couple people are joining us. And let's see here. There's Karen. Karen, hey, how you doing? Um,
Diet Mountain
Diane Mountain
Dew.
Dew, of course you are,
Wow.
Karen. Karen, I know Karen. I have known her for
Oh,
years. She's up in Boston, and she has always been a Diet Mountain Dew fan. So,
I
um,
have never had a Mountain Dew or a Diet Mountain Dew. So, Karen, I
Leslie,
might have to try one.
that's so funny. You've never had one ever. Oh, that's great.
No, I don't know why, but now that she wrote it, I will remember to have a Mountain Dew,
We'll have
a
to message
diet
her
one.
and let her know. Right. And Adam, as usual, he is drinking water upstairs. Oh, he says Happy New Year until March. Oh, so he's a
Thank
long
you.
one.
I love that. I wish I had known you last year, Adam, because you would have been closer to being on my side when I did the poll. I got some really strong opinions back that my way was wrong. So I'm
That's
glad
so
there's a
funny.
club of us who like saying it.
And hi there, Kimberly. I'm so glad to see you. We're going to be,
Oh,
yeah,
hi,
let's start
Kimberly.
talking about goal setting. Although I will say, though, that we got Karen and Kimberly are both saying, oh my gosh, love Diet Mountain Dew. So,
Okay, I will report on it the next live.
yes, you
And
should.
perhaps I'll even have a Mountain Dew with me. I will try one.
Ooh, that would be great. Okay. All right. So today we're going to be talking all about goal setting, but particularly as it relates to professional development goals. So thinking about this, what's one word you think of when it comes to goal setting within this framework?
The first word that used to come to mind, is pressure.
Mm.
That was the old me. The new me who thinks looking forward, progress.
Ooh, progress. Okay. Okay. I think I'm with you with the old me versus new me, right? Like goal setting in the past used to be a stressful experience for me.
Yes.
So, but now I think of it as advancement, maybe. And I think of it that
Ooh,
way in because it's advancing my learning. It's something I like to look forward to now. So that's it's a little different. Oh, Alex, we have Alex answer us, and she says dread for goal setting.
yeah,
Yep.
I
Yeah.
get it. It's a lot of pressure.
It can
And we
be.
put the pressure on ourselves versus someone else putting it on us, but we think there's outside pressure.
That's true. That's true. Which we're going to be talking about. That's a really good segue. Is we want to go in and talk about the 7 mistakes people make in goal setting. Um, and, first we want to talk a little bit about why goal setting is so important because it is easy, especially if it is stressful. It's easy to push that to the side and, put it off, procrastinate, but there is value to it. So, Leslie, what do you think the biggest value is for you when it comes to goal setting?
It's our framework. It's
Mm,
something to look towards. Otherwise, what's happening is we're just waiting, like, for things to happen. You can't
yeah,
just be on your journey and not where go know where you're going. So
right. And you're
that's
just kind of
an
along for the
important.
ride. Yeah.
Exactly. So setting goals, now how we set goals and what we call them is probably very different for each one of us. It's essentially like a different equation of what works for you. But
Yeah.
I do find that the goals, whether I call them strategies, I set them. And then I figure out what the little steps are to get towards those. And then those are what I focus on
Mm,
during that period of time where I know I'm on the journey, but I need it in smaller bites to be
sure.
successful and not get overwhelmed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really great point. I think for me, goal is very similar. Goals give you something to look forward to instead of having just kind of like going along for the ride. Also, it can be a motivational tool if you let it. Diana here, she says that she views it as opportunities. And yeah, those are all
Hello,
ways that
Diana.
are really great motivating tools to keep you moving forward. And so that's why it can be so important for your personal growth, professional growth, um, advancement. Back to my favorite word about when I think about it.
And then there's another word that I've really like added into because I used to only feel pressure from
Yeah.
goals,
Mhm.
knowing that it's okay to adapt and evolve the goals.
Yes.
So I may set them 1 month, look towards them, not even sure of how long it's going to take to accomplish them. And when I go back to review them, you know what? This one needs a little tweak. That's
Yeah.
not really what I want to achieve. And that agility and adaptability and evolving, like it's always evolving. It doesn't have to be an absolute, but I need the target to move towards it.
I think Adam agrees with you because the word he thinks about is flexibility. And that goes along with what you're saying, right? Being able to be adaptable and change and flexible. So, all right, so let's get into some of
Absolutely.
these mistakes
Absolutely.
because
Uh,
they're
so do you want me to,
go for it.
I'll start with number one, neglecting to reflect. Reflection is such a key point in so many things that we do. It doesn't mean get stuck in the past, but reflect, figure out the wins, figure out the missteps, uh, and figure out what you need to continue to progress going forward. The lessons learned, they're all back to opportunities that Diana mentioned before. Those missteps and the wins are opportunities. Figure out how to rejig them, put them together in a different way
Mhm.
so that you can still meet that goal. But if you don't reflect, what have you learned? Nothing.
Absolutely. And if you're thinking about goal setting as looking for the forward, you can't do that without, I mean, you can, you can do that without looking back, but looking back helps you figure out what you've learned since then and then what you want to build upon. Because most of the time our goals are build upon goals, or many times they are, right? They aren't something brand spanking new. When it comes to professional development, sometimes they are, but they're usually something that you can look at before to see what you learned to try to get to that new goal.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's look at mistake number 2. They're too vague. So earlier we talked about different words that are used here, and we've talked about goals, objectives, resolutions, all that, intentions. The best goals aren't extraordinarily vague. So you might have an overarching goal that's pretty vague, but let me give you an example. If your goal is to become a better speaker, public speaker, and that's it, full stop. That's really vague. And so when it's really vague like that, what's better mean? And when do you know when you've hit that goal? How can you measure
Exactly.
it? And that's when a lot of people, when we talk about when resolutions fail, that's a great example of that, because they create these very vague resolutions or very vague goals and have no like little milestones or inch stones even along the way to demonstrate that progress.
Absolutely. And we know, like, I don't think as many people do it now, but a typical New Year's resolution is, oh, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to get in better shape. And then what happens? Next year, they have that same goal because they never broke it down into specifics of what you're going to do. And it doesn't just happen. You need
Right.
actions to make it happen. And you have to figure out what those actions are.
Yeah, I agree. And so Kimberly here, she says that SMART goals are essential to be actionable. So yeah, let's talk about SMART goals for a minute. Leslie, do you remember what they stand for? It's okay if not.
I, I, I need a lesson.
It's specific, measurable, actionable, relevance, or related, and time bound. So they're very specific and get through. And as you can hear, actions right in there, right? So
Yes.
yes, that is one framework that works for people.
And I see a comment that just emphasizes our point about reflection in mistake number one. I
Yeah.
love that Nadine does this, and hello, Nadine, that she's been scheduling thinking time for myself twice a week. That is something I'm glad you brought that up, that I've deliberately done in 2022, where I schedule it.
Yeah.
And then it happens. Otherwise, you're just like, "Oh, yeah, remember on Fridays you should think or reflect." No, 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 make it like an appointment with yourself, and I think that's a great tip, so thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah. That is good. And being very intentional about it.
Yes.
Okay. So let's see here. So let's go into mistake number 3.
Ah, so when you're crushing your own dreams, and what we mean by that is self-limiting thoughts, goals before they formed, because you're just going to end up disappointing yourself. You're making things that you can't even reach. So you really have to make, not that you shouldn't reach, we should stretch ourselves, but to the point of things that can't do what you can control and what actions you can implement. And that's really important in when you're setting those goals. Because I did it the other night. I looked at some goals that I had set last August and making sure that I'm like still moving towards them. And there was one of them I go, oh yeah, this one, might have been not too far out of the reach, just like it's not that's not me. It's not going to happen. Let me
Yes.
rejig it to make it more match up with where I'm going.
Yeah, and at the same time, first of all, you just reminded me, I said the A wrong in the SMART goals. It's achievable, which is actually what you're talking about here. And in this case, one of the biggest mistakes I see so many clients make, and I've done it myself many times though, is stopping yourself and saying, I can't do that before you've even thought it all the way through. So again, thinking about if it's too vague or like I want to be on I want to be a TEDx speaker or something like that, very, very large, big thinking, it doesn't mean you can't. There may be some
Correct.
goals that you have to set along the way, sub goals, right? And little actions. But if you stop that and crush your dream before you even put it into practice and you never want to stretch yourself, then that's when, I see that mistake being made because then people want to, I think what the word people say is play small. And you
Yes.
do end up playing small or limiting yourself. And I think a lot of women in particular, women professionals end up doing that.
Absolutely. There were things that I've said, "Oh, I'm never gonna do that," or "I can never do that." Uh, Being on this live stream with you a year ago, I would have told you, "No, no, 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 that's not me. I'll be behind the scenes. I'll give you the content. I can never do that." And then you do it and you're like, "Oh, I can do this." But it was me who stopped me, nobody else, because I
Right.
crushed my own dreams.
Right, and that's a really good example of going back to that whole wanting to be on a TEDx speaker. Well, you gotta start somewhere.
Yes,
So doing a live stream or just making video content, anything is a start. So that's how you can inch your way towards that.
absolutely.
All right, so Leslie, talk about more about mistake number 4 here.
And I'm reminding myself
Oh,
what
I
the
have it right up
no,
on the screen.
oh, thank you. Thank for reminding me what for some reason, my mind went blank about
I'm
what
sorry about
number 4
that.
was. So, focusing only on outcomes outside of your control, and
Yes.
that's really important. It all the analogy for me is the same thing when I'm in a difficult situation. I know what I can control, my response to it.
Mhm.
But I can't control someone else's behavior. And that really applies to goals and outcomes as well. What can I control? What can I affect? Where can I make impact? And then make sure that aligns with the goal I've set. If there's things I can't control, like last night winning the Mega Millions, which I did not, if that's my goal, I'm gonna be disappointed. I can't control that somehow the numbers were all in sequence and all below number 18, which I would have never picked those numbers. And that's really important. Focus on outcomes that you can manage and control.
Yeah.
You can have some luck mixed in there, but just know when it's luck and not something you can control.
Absolutely. And, thinking about from a business perspective and my own personal experience with this, previously, before becoming a leadership and career coach, my work was in public relations, and a lot of that was around media relations. Now, the thing with media relations is it's all outside of your control. Like you can take certain steps to try to get into different publications, but when you have your goal, if you made your goal that you want to get your client, your CEO, or whoever, um, on Good Morning America, a lot of that is outside of your control. But you can flip that and make your goals within your control. So you can say, I'm going to do a lot of research about the reporters and identify 6 reporters who would be the right contacts. I'm going to make sure I've pushed out 7 pieces of emails or literature towards them. I'm going to try to set a coffee date. And those things can help get you along there. But if you make something that's completely out of your control, because you cannot, I mean, if otherwise, that's advertising. So that's the thing that comes to my mind all the time. And a lot of people in communications feel that pressure and feel that failure, that when they feel like I can't reach that goal because it's not something that's just within your control.
And to me, it also ties back to number 3 with crushing your own dreams.
Yeah.
That so even when it seems like out of reach and I can't control it, like getting the client on Good Morning America, wait, how can I make that happen? It still goes back
Yes.
to believing you can make it happen. Huh, let me do some networking. Let me ask some people,
Right.
hey, does anyone know anyone at Good Morning America? And
Right.
do the 6 degrees of separation, and usually it takes 2 or 3 degrees and not 6 degrees, and maybe you actually can make happen what you thought was out of your control.
Absolutely. And the way I talk to my clients about it is to focus on the process. Make the goal the process, the systemic, the actions you need to take. And I think that might go along a little bit about what Diana's saying here about, but should you not anticipate them so that they won't derail you or negatively impact the outcome?
I I think it's mindset. I
Mhm.
think that you should anticipate or think about them and then turn them around and say, "Oh, I'm not gonna let that be an obstacle. How can I make that a challenge and an opportunity that I can push through and find a way to get to?"
Yeah, I think that that's really great, right? Like you anticipating challenges is actually a very strong skill to have, right? Especially as a leader, thinking you have to make sure that you know that there are going to be some roadblocks and knowing what they might be, but then to anticipate and find a way to navigate around them, um,
Sure.
or address them in one way, shape, or form.
And in the end, it is that mindset, like, believe you're gonna make it happen, even when at that moment you don't know how you're gonna make it happen. And that's something that I do in my, conflict management business.
Mm,
I will tell people, "Listen, I know why I'm here to help you because you have no idea how to resolve this conflict, and you say there is no resolution." In order to start, I say, "I know you don't know what the resolution is, but I need you to believe there is one even when you don't know what it is." So I think that's with our goals as well. Believe you're gonna meet that goal. Now work really hard to figure out how you are going to meet that goal, and it's not always gonna be within yourself. Like, seek
yeah.
guidance, get more information, read books, get on LinkedIn, and network with people. Get the information you need, and then all of a sudden, you're gonna start being able to work through those steps that are gonna get to that goal that seemed unimaginable.
Yeah. Now we're going to kind of flip that, Leslie, because we're also going to talk about mistake number five. Because, and this is funny because we go and with everything, there's a caveat. But at the same time, you don't want to take on too much all at once. And that is mistake number five, which I will fully admit, and this is what I was saying in the beginning. Sometimes I do because I want everything and I want it to all happen now. And I might create 15 different goals, and they might be in all different areas of my life and try to do it all at once. And that's not achievable either. So that goes back to that A that I forgot earlier about in the SMART goals about being achievable.
Well, and I think it's okay for us to share that we've even done that with the scheduling of this live event, where our intent was monthly. We had a plan of maybe what week it would be each month. And then there have been things that have gotten in the way,
Yeah.
too much work. We realized we took on more than we could do outside of this show. And then we talk to each other and I'm like, okay, so nobody else is going to notice that we skipped a month or delayed it. It's okay that we've done that. And that's important too, because I think that's what happens that we take on too much, and especially this like momentum, like beginning of the year, set
Yes.
goals. And that's why in the past 5 or 10 years, I don't set goals in January. They're
Hmm.
set in the fall,
Okay.
um, because it's this timing of the year just create that's why pressure was my word of the past.
Right. That's interesting. So just by flipping the timing for you, it took some of that pressure off. That's great.
Absolutely,
That's awesome.
absolutely.
Um, all right, so let's get into mistake number six. And this we touched on earlier a little bit, which is that taking an all or nothing approach. And that goes back into the whole realizing that you want to say, like, okay, I need to, I don't even know. I'm trying to think of another professional development goal. I need to get a promotion by March. And that is a very, very definitive goal. It's also got other mistakes in there that we've made before about being outside of your control, things like that. But within that, if it is a very specific thing like that and it does not happen, or you don't see it coming to fruition on time, many people just drop the goal altogether and they're like, that's it. It was an all or nothing. And so failure, it's the way you view failure. And is
Yes.
failure being the end, or is failure something to learn from?
Absolutely. There's 2 things I wanna share is one is someone I don't think she's here today, but Dina Lefkowitz is someone I know
Oh,
well
yeah.
on
Mhm.
LinkedIn, and she started doing every Friday that sharing the small wins of the week. At first, I kind of blew it off, and she would kinda pull me in with a tag or a mention. I'm like, "Okay." And I realized how much that's helpful with this fighting and pushing away this all or nothing approach. Like
Yeah.
the small wins happen. She's like, no, no, no matter how small, what was it? I'm like, oh, I met someone for lunch today. Yay. And celebrate those.
Yeah.
And, what did it pull you towards? And the other thing that sticks with me is this I think this is a fabulous quote that back in the 1920s, so it's an old quote, 100 years old, a journalist asked Thomas Edison how it felt to fail 1,000 times in his attempt to invent the light bulb. He replied, I didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was an invention with 1,000 steps.
Oh,
That answers it for me. The failures are not fails, they're steps, they're missteps at times. We learn from them, we go in a different direction, make a left turn, a right turn, or sometimes a 360-degree turn, but it's all part of the process. Because if it was all easy, it wouldn't feel like something you need to celebrate.
yeah, that's so true. And that reminds me of the I can't remember who originally said this, but it's very common where they talk about babies, right? And babies, if they gave up the first time they tried to take a step, no one would be walking.
Oh, that's a good one. It's
But
so
we,
true.
right, but they keep trying, they're persistent. And so like I like to try to think back and have the mindset of a toddler or a child or a baby. Because you just keep going that way.
And we even had it when for anyone who learned how to ride a bicycle.
Yeah.
I remember the determination. I still have a few of those scars where I would sneak out of the house in the morning because I was just determined that this was the day I was going to be able to ride the two-wheeler without the training wheels. And I would just go, up and down the sidewalk, falling. I was learning how to do it on the grass because I thought that would protect me from the cuts. But it was that determination that you knew you were going to do it. You just didn't know
Sure.
how, and you just had to keep on trying different things to make it work.
And have that belief, like you said earlier, right? That mindset of that belief that it will happen.
Yes, absolutely. So
All
should
right,
we
so we're
get
coming up
to
on our final one. Yes, Leslie, our final one. The
and
mistake.
this one
Yeah.
is a big one.
Yeah, go for it, Leslie.
Someone else's goals. They weren't yours. You were listening to what other people wanted from you or told you or what you imagined or anticipated they expected from you. It's
Mhm.
hard to achieve those. You're not
Absolutely.
believing in them. They're not yours.
Yeah, and I see this very often, especially when in my side of my work where I'm working with career transition clients, right? Want
Yes.
those who are changing and they believe, so often I'll hear like, well, this isn't my traditional career path, and I really should be right now going because I went to grad school and then I got this, and now I should be this. And
Yes.
it's like, well, why should you be that? And you start realizing that's an external goal. That's something you think maybe society expects of you or your parents expect of you or our friends or your
Yes.
boss or anything else, and it's not yours. And those are the goals that are bound to fail because they're not ones that you really want. You have to be in alignment with that goal too.
Absolutely. And I think for me, when you said the word should,
Mm,
if that's even in the thought,
yeah,
that's the hint that
yeah,
that's not really your goal. It's what you
absolutely.
think
Yeah.
others are expecting from you. So it's more about, but what could be your goal
Yes,
opens it up to what are the opportunities.
absolutely. I agree. And I can't believe we're already up on
I
time.
know.
Well,
It
let us
goes so
know though.
fast.
Yes, first of all, if you found this discussion helpful, drop an emoji. And if you have questions, please write them in after the show. We are always going back and we will answer every one of them. We really enjoy doing this and appreciate you showing up. We love showing up for you, even if we need to change it sometimes, as Leslie said. But we have our goals for this year. And
We
speaking of
do.
which, we will be back, I believe it's February 1st, and we'll be talking about managing versus directing versus coaching, right? Um,
Yes.
so that'll be
I'm
fun.
looking
And
forward to it.
yeah,
It'll be a great discussion.
yes.
So at this point, we're going to probably close.
Mhm.
Oh, thank you, Adam. This was really validating for a lot of things. And you know what? That's why we need to talk about these things
Yeah.
because maybe we're hearing the same thing we've heard before, but it just inspires you when you hear it differently or in
Mhm.
a different format, or someone raises a word that sticks with you. And that is
Yeah.
something that is a better reframed word. Uh, just like many of us kind of run from the word resolutions, goals sounds much more doable. For me, strategy sounds even more doable. So thank you
Me
to
too.
all of you. And at this point, I just want to say I'm signing off. This is Leslie Neidick. If your goal for the year is to stop running from conflict, then contact me because I'll share some specific tips and strategies with you. So you can send me a DM or an email or find me at theconflictstrategist.com.
Awesome. And this is Ann Genduso. Again, thank you so much. I'm a leadership and career coach, and I work with women to help them level up their leadership skills so they can advance their careers and become the boss they wish they had. And so, if you're looking for that, I'd love for you to join my Modern Leader series. We start up again later this month. So, send me a message. Thanks so much, everyone.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.